One of the most interesting chapters in the early history of archaeology in the United States was the formation by the Smithsonian Institution of the Division of Mound Exploration within the newly formed Bureau of American Ethnology. The daunting task that was set out for this Division of Mound Exploration was to investigate and understand the thousands of mysterious earthen mounds that were scattered across eastern North America. And the primary question that they were asked to answer was, who built these mounds? As you might imagine, there was considerable speculation about these mounds and no lack of theories about the people who built them. Many of the theories suggested that a vanished race had constructed the mounds. Some thought that the mounds had been built by early civilizations that reached the New World long before Columbus, perhaps from the Near East or even from Atlantis. Or maybe the mounds had been built by civilizations from Mexico, where large mounds or pyramids had already been discovered and described. Another and much more likely explanation, of course, was that the mounds had been built by indigenous Eastern North American Indian societies, the distant ancestors of the people who greeted the Europeans when they arrived. The man hired to run the Division of Mound Exploration and answer the basic question of who built the mounds was Cyrus Thomas, a biologist from Carbondale, Illinois, who had considerable experience in organizing scientific efforts. Thomas faced several difficult challenges in studying the mounds. First, there was the large geographical area over which the mounds occurred and the logistic challenge of organizing archaeological expeditions to study them. Second was the large number of mounds. Literally thousands of mounds were scattered across the eastern half of North America. Finally, the mounds themselves came in many different forms. Effigy mounds in the form of animals, large geometrical earthworks, cone-shaped mounds often occurring in groups, and flat-topped rectangular mounds, often arranged around a central plaza. The research design or strategy developed to deal with the challenge was pretty straightforward. Rather than trying to study all the mounds, they would document a representative sample of each of the different categories of mounds and would also make sure to get good geographical coverage. Information about mounds was to be collected in two different ways. First, by activating an extensive network of interested people across the vast area where mounds had been identified and asking them to send in descriptions and artifacts recovered from mound sites. And secondly, to hire experienced field researchers to investigate specific regions and sites in order to obtain more detailed information and recover larger artifact assemblages. Between 1882 and 1890, 7 different men were hired for short periods of time as field assistants, including Edward Palmer, Gerard Fouke, and P.W. Norris. These field researchers were constantly on the move and sending back Washington reports of their excavations and barrels and crates filled with artifacts. In their reports, Palmer, Fouke, and the other field archaeologists provided written descriptions of the mound sites they visited and the results of their excavations, along with maps of the mound sites and drawings of their excavation units. These field archaeologists covered a remarkable amount of territory in the 1880s, visiting 140 different counties, investigating more than 2,000 mounds, and shipping more than 8,000 artifacts back to Washington. Cyrus Thomas compiled all the field reports coming in, and all of the artifacts were recorded in the Division of Mound Exploration catalog before being transferred to the U.S. National Museum, which later became the National Museum of Natural History. These reports and the artifact collections formed the basis of the landmark 12th Annual Report of the Bureau of American Ethnology, which established conclusively that the mounds served a variety of different functions, including the burial of important people, the elevation of temples and meeting houses, and to designate sacred locations on the landscape. The Division of Mound Exploration also concluded that it was the distant ancestors of Eastern North American Indian societies who had constructed the mounds, and they provided a solid foundation for research that continues up to the present day.